I think probably the most important thing all of us need to do is get students to have a good sound concept, because the very first thing that comes to my mind when I play the instrument is not how do I breathe or how do I form my embouchure. It's mostly about what do I want to sound like. And as teachers, we all need to be putting information out there so students know what their instrument should sound like. So I could list several different individual players to listen to, but I think finding any quality recording of a great band, a great orchestra, a great chamber ensemble, whatever you choose, put that music on so kids can grab onto what the trombone sounds like. Because listening to their neighbor is probably not going to be the best example every day. Probably hearing a professional play or a professional orchestra play would be a very good idea. A second thing I think about when I'm playing the instrument is what is the note needing to sound like. So in my head, I not only hear the sound I want, I actually hear the pitch center I want to try and achieve. And for a brass player, that's incredibly important because the signals that the brain sends to control vocal cords are very similar and in a very similar place to the signals that are sent to control the embouchure. So some singing and playing exercises are always really important. So oftentimes when I start playing the instrument, or I'm working with a student, or I'm working with a section, I'll have lots of singing going on. For example, for myself, I get the horn out first thing in the morning, and I will think to myself, B flat, and I thereby sort of get that part of my brain turned on that says, here's how you control pitch. I get that part of my mind fired up, and so I'm ready to go, and we'll be able to generate the tones that I want. So with a group of students or with individuals, probably a little bit of singing is a really nice idea. You might already incorporate this into your rehearsals, as many people do. But I think it's important to make that point to the students that practice just isn't blowing on the instrument. Sometimes practice is thinking about what it should sound like and actually trying to vocalize that a little bit.